Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Welcome to the second hour of Focal Point on the American Family Radio Talk Network. Might have seen yesterday that a federal judge, one lone black-robed tyrant, this was in the state of Oklahoma, so we seem to be on an Oklahoma theme today, ruled that the state's ban on same-sex marriage was unconstitutional. Said that it was based on moral disapproval. We can't be having that in the law. This judge said, this is ridiculous. This is absurd. He says, this is a law that is based on moral disapproval. Well, it ought to be. We ought to morally disapprove of homosexual behavior. But the point here is that's what the law is. The law is an expression of moral disapproval. That's why it's against the law to shoplift, because we morally disapprove of shoplifting. That's why it's against the law to break into people's homes and steal stuff, because we morally disapprove of that behavior. That's why it's against the law to shoot somebody, because we have a moral disapproval of shooting innocent people. So that's all the law is. So this is just an absolutely ridiculous decision. He says it represents an exclusion of just one class of Oklahoma citizens from a government benefit. Well, it's not just one class of citizens, because you have people that want to be in polygamous relationships. He didn't give them the right to get married, so they're excluded. So his ruling is not inclusive like he wants to pretend. Those that believe that incest is appropriate, they don't get a pass from this judge, so they're not included. And those that believe in pedophilia and bestiality, they're not included in this, so the judge systematically excluding people all over the fruited plain. Number to call if you want to join the program is 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Let's start the second hour with Cindy in Oklahoma. Cindy, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
I was calling about the alleged attacker with Toby Harmon.
Okay,
Well, I have a few questions for everybody who feels like they have an opinion on the situation.
All right.
If Toby Harmon is a peaceful protester and all that, why would he need to have 3 cameras with him instead of just one? Because that kind of seems like he's been in this position before. 2, everybody's saying that he needs to stand up for himself, yet it's okay to be videotaping people coming out of the clinic, doing their own personal business. Peaceful protesting, I didn't think would include saying that you're murdering your baby, because the attacker was provoked from the time that he stepped out of the clinic, and I find it extremely convenient that they don't have that footage on camera.
Now, when you say, Cindy, that this assault was provoked, are you in a position to know that?
Yeah, I am. I'm the one in the video.
So you are
That's my boyfriend.
That you're the girlfriend of the guy that went after Toby Harmon.
Yeah.
So you were there when this thing was going down.
Yes.
Well, let me ask you this question, Cindy. What happened, to give you the chance to tell your side of the story, what happened when you came out of the abortion clinic, you and your boyfriend?
We came out to talk about our decision. I hadn't gone through with it yet.
So the two of you had come out of the abortion clinic because you hadn't made a decision yet to go through with the abortion. You wanted to talk it over with your boyfriend, and that's why you came outside the clinic. Let me ask you this, Cindy, before we go any further. Why were you hesitating about the abortion?
A number of reasons that I don't really think is anyone else's business.
Well, I mean, you called us, Cindy, and you told us that...
Yeah, to say that there was more to the story, not on why I chose to get the procedure done.
I understand, but I was just kind of curious. You seem to be objecting to the fact that Toby and his friend had a moral objection to abortion, but you seem to have some hesitation yourself about whether it's something that you wanted to do. Were any moral factors a part of your hesitation? Can you say that much?
The timing is not right.
Okay, all right.
I wasn't ready, and it wasn't fair for the baby.
Okay. So what eventually did you decide to do? May I ask that?
Excuse me?
What eventually did you and your boyfriend decide to do with the baby?
We went through with it.
Okay. Did you do
They actually helped me go through with it.
Okay. So did you do it on the same day, or did you come back a different day?
Same day.
So
I
you
went right back in after the cops left and got it done.
Okay. So you're saying that when you came out of the clinic that this assault was provoked, that Toby and his friend provoked your boyfriend into the assault. How did they do that exactly?
Well, from being on the other side, I don't understand why they are allowed to be videotaping people coming in and out of the clinic without consent of being recorded. We come out of the clinic to talk privately about our matter, and we have these two people as close as they can possibly be legally.
And how far was that, Cindy? How far away were they?
I mean, like 10, 15 feet.
Okay. But what you are saying is that they were as close as they could be legally. So what you're
without being on the property,
right?
Without trespassing.
So what you're saying is that they were obeying the law.
Yeah. Are you gonna let me tell my story? You're just gonna pick the pieces apart.
Well, no, I'm not picking. No, Cindy, I'm not picking it apart.
Okay.
I want you to be able to tell your story.
Yeah.
But I also want you to be aware of some of the things that you're sort of admitting in the process of telling your story.
I'm not denying any. It's on video. He attacked him, didn't he?
Yeah. Now,
what you don't see is the first part of the video where we come out and they're yelling across. They're speaking loudly to us from where they're standing and where we were standing. I turned around and I looked because I heard voices, and I asked, "Are you serious? You're going to do this right now?" Because they have signs of unborn babies and all that stuff to try to get their point through, and that's whatever. Talking about how we're murdering our baby and things of that sort. Now, if you were to have something
no, Cindy,
you had to go through, would you want cameras shoved in your face and having everybody try to judge you on what you're doing without even knowing the real situation?
Well, Cindy, let me go back, and I'm really sorry I don't have more time. I've got a guest coming on at 2:15. I'm just about out of time, but I want to go back to one thing you said, which I think was very significant, Cindy. You said you and your boyfriend came outside the clinic to decide what to do with the baby. I mean, Cindy, do you realize that you just called it a baby?
I call it what you want.
No, Cindy, I'm not.
Listen, the signs that they are out there showing everybody while they have kids out there peacefully protesting.
Now, Cindy,
bull crap, because the babies in the picture are far more along than the babies that are in that clinic. You can't be past 8 weeks, or they won't do it.
But Cindy, you understand.
The pictures are misleading. They have children out there with the signs. You're saying that they need to stand up for each other and they need to stand up for being attacked. They're out there.
But Cindy, I just, you know,
they do.
I understand, Cindy, but I want to remind you that you were the one that called it a baby. That wasn't my term.
I don't care.
That was your term. And I am out of time, Cindy, but one thing that I want to be sure I leave you with, the same message that Toby wanted. There is forgiveness. There's restoration. You have done a terrible thing here, but there is forgiveness at the foot of the cross of Jesus Christ. That sin can be covered with his blood, and you can get a fresh start in life. Thank you, Cindy, for the call. Sorry we don't have more time.
Here's